Hello everyone, this is Jan Monahan. I hope you're having a good week, and I certainly hope you're having more sunshine than we are. We've had several days in a row with gray skies, and it's just not real conducive to a happy demeanor. But when I got this, took it out of the mailbox, and I got excited, so life isn't all bad. This is the Hero Arts February 2020, and it's all about birthdays. This stamp set it's got two big stamps. One stamp looks like it will cover an A2 card, and the larger one than that would do very well with an A6. When I saw this online, I was very intrigued by the birthday cake, the die that comes in the birthday cake, and it didn't have a stamp for it, and I thought, well, okay, we can probably work with this. But what interested me even more than the birthday cake was, believe it or not, the packaging. And I really liked all the confetti, or I guess they're officially sprinkles. Yeah, and then there are the goodies. We've got, let's see, what do they call this? Lacquer? Yeah, there's yellow, pink, and aqua lacquer. And that'll be used. Okay, now we've seen all those. All right. And then on top of that, we have our own set of sprinkles, which is, yeah, there they are. Our own confetti. That would make a great shaker card, or an explosion card, a pop-up card. I don't remember what they're called. But anyway, let's get to the first project. I cut up the packaging, and I cut it up at an angle on my trimmer, and I tried to get the most out of the sprinkles. And then I had some paper that worked very well. That's some pink paper, some pink cardstock that worked very well. And I decided that I wanted to use the lacquer colors that came with the kit. And I've also chosen to use my colored pencils and see how closely we can match these colors. I was a little concerned about this blue. Hero Arts called it aqua, but it didn't match the aqua in my 72 pencil set here. By the way, this is my go-to pencil set. This is Arteza, and their price point is a little higher than most, but oh my goodness, these are just yummy colored pencils. All right, let me show you the ones that I used. I'm going to make a bit of a mess here. Okay, there we go. I am just starting on my journey of learning how to use colored pencils, and I knew with the blue that I was going to have to do some kind of blending, and I'm a very, very novice at blending. So let's come up here and see what colors I used. The yellow was very easy to match, and I can't remember what this was. Oh, that's right, lemon. Sorry about that, but yeah, that was a no-brainer. And here comes the blue, and it just, from the outside of the pencil, it even looks kind of green. But this is the closest color I could find, and it's still not perfect. But they called it robin egg blue, so that's what we're going to have to go with. And the pink, that also was very easy to match, and this is peony. And I up on the screen, I put all the numbers in case you wanted to get the set. So let's get started here. From the kit, I stamped and die cut the cake and the present, and I'm going to use the blue and the pink on the gift, and I'm also going to be using Gamsol, and I'll show you that in a minute. For those of you who don't like to see all the pencil lines, the pencil marks, maybe you draw in circles or draw straight lines and you just don't want it. Yeah, there's Gamsol. You just want a smoother look. The Gamsol is what you need. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking a paper stump and I saturated it with Gamsol, and it smooths everything out. It makes it look like it makes it look like Copic markers. One of the advantages to using colored pencils over Copic markers is that for the price of 72 colored pencils, you might be able to get 8 or 9 Copic markers. So there's definitely something to be said for colored pencils. Okay, one last couple of drops of Gamsol and we'll move along. To help all of you along with these projects, in my YouTube description, I will give you links to all these products, and you click on those links and it will bring you right to the place where you can click on it and purchase it. And every time you click, it gives me a little bit of a nod from the manufacturer. So, and that kind of helps keep things going. When I started cutting these strips of packaging and cardstock, I cut the sheet right down the middle. I'm going to be using a 5x7 card, and I needed the longest strips that I could get to cover the face of the card. All right, let's get going on this. I have put double-sided tape on the back side of all these strips, and this is Scor-Tape, and Scor-Tape, it works very well, almost to a fault. You put it down, it stays down, and that's the reason I use it, and sometimes it comes back to bite me in the behind. But anyway, I'm putting these at a diagonal. I have problems saying that. I'm putting the strips together as closely as I can, and all right, there we've got most of them. So I'm going to speed this up, and if you notice the double-sided tape is sticking to my scissors, that's that's how wonderful a product this is. And after we finish this, I'm going to go ahead and put this on my card base. There are several snafus on this video, and I prefer to keep the snafus on here to let everybody know, yeah, we make mistakes too. Many people are perfectionists and I can't have them looking at this. Well, this was one of my faux pas. I put this down on the card base and it wasn't square. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off with the lacquer pen, and we'll start on project number 2. All right, project number 2, we're going to be using 3 different colors of Distress Oxide: Tattered Rose, Abandoned Coral, and Seedless Preserves. and I've got a couple of blender tools up here. I'm also using the large stamp from the kit and Make-A-Wish, and then I'm going to use the gift again. I'm also using Nina's Solar White 110-pound cardstock for my card front. I'm going to start with Tattered Rose, which is almost a flesh color, but it is it really is a very muted color. And once again, I'm going to speed this up. And next we'll be using Abandoned Coral. And then we will move on to Seedless Preserves. As you're blending, don't be afraid to really load up your blending tool. And certainly don't be too nervous about going back over and blending the colors together. The first order of business when you are embossing on top of ink is to make sure that it's dry. And since I'm using black embossing powder, I need to be extra careful. And no, it's not dry. Okay, let me get this off and hit it with my heat tool. And then we will try again. So off camera, I went ahead and tested it, and it is dry, so we can go ahead. And as I said before, I'm working with black embossing powder. And when you're working with black embossing powder, you really need to use your anti-static powder tool at full strength. Don't be afraid to put all kinds of powder on there. The darker embossing powders that you use, they are very striking on various background colors. But you will see every little mistake that powder makes, and so you really need to take precautions before you start stamping. All right, I'm using VersaMark ink, very sticky ink, and it's probably one of the best for embossing. And now we'll see if I've covered it well enough. And not so good. Just a little one down there in the corner. Okay, I think we're going to be able to fix that. As we melt the embossing powder, the best way to ensure that you've got it all melted is to put it under a light and kind of just move it around, make sure everything shines and there's no actual powder left. Okay, I'm going to put this on my card base, and then we'll fix our little problem down at the bottom. Darker embossing powders are conducive to problems. I really do enjoy working with them, but they're tricky. That's probably the next thing I should do, is a tutorial on working with darker embossing powders. All right. Well, at least I got that one centered. Okay. The cake is too big, and I've already got a gift on there. Let's see what else I can put on. I'm not sure using an image would be wise. It's busy enough as it is. So I'll probably use some words here, some verbiage, and cover that little spot up. As we are winding this up, I'd like to talk to you about my VersaMark pads. I've been stamping for probably 20 years, and I've gone through 2 VersaMark pads. And I know that most people who watch these videos, they know about reinkers for pigment ink, but this VersaMark makes a reinker for their VersaMark, and I use the reinker regularly, and it's very simple to do. You just put a few drops on the pad and sometimes I rub it in, but most of the time I just let it do its thing. This is enough goofing around. Let's finish this project up. Once again, I use the anti-static powder tool and my very well used VersaMark, and we'll put on the black embossing powder and hit it with the heat tool, and voila. Okay. All right, now we're on to project number 3. For project number 3, you will need the Distress Oxide ink, black soot. I'm using the smaller of the 2 stamps that came in this month's kit. I'm also going to be using the all 3 lacquer colors that came in the kit. Where are they? There's 2 of them. Okay. This stamp is small enough to use an acrylic block, but I need multiple images of this. I'm going to be making the balloons and cutting them out with the die that came along in the kit. Sets of balloons for this project, and each image doesn't have to be perfect because I only need the balloons. So I'm going to be doing this rather quickly. And where'd that come from? Let's get it out here. Okay. I'm using the Misty because I do need multiple images, and it's the quickest way to get those images. As I finish stamping these images, I will be filling in the balloons with the 3 colors of lacquer that came with the kit. Since I'm going to be die cutting these sets of balloons out, it is very important to let the lacquer dry completely. Not till it's squishy, but completely, so when it's really firm. I learned that the hard way. I failed to mention at the beginning of this project that we are making a gift tag, and I'm using one of the big large journaling tags that Tim Holtz uses at a lot of his trade shows. I'm also using Distress Oxide, the color Tumbled Glass. That's the closest I could find to a nice happy blue sky. And I'm using this stencil here. This is from Simon Says Stamp, and it really is the most versatile cloud and sky stencil that there is. They were smart enough to put both clouds, just the outside of clouds and the cloud itself, and nobody else had done that. So I'm going to blend the Tumbled Glass onto this tag, and I'm not going to be, it doesn't have to be all smooth, because I am going to be making this look like a sky. Anytime you do any kind of blending, it's important to use a scrap piece of paper, or I'm using a Post-it note here, unless you want the ink all over your fingers. It's good to use something to protect your fingers. Okay, this is sea salt, the reactive ink sea salt from Hero Arts, and I started to try and blend this, and it just wasn't looking right. We couldn't see the outlines of the clouds, and couldn't see the clouds themselves. So I ended up going direct to paper from this, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just showed up better, and it looked better, and they looked like real clouds. I use this cloud stencil frequently, and the last time I used this was for Halloween. I was making several greeting cards for Halloween, and I was using gray and black for the clouds, and shame on me, I failed to wash to get all the ink off of the stencil, and I figured it was stained, and when I got it out of storage once again, And I thought, no, this isn't going to look good. But I put it under water and soaked it, and it came out. So whatever material they used, once again, I'm using Distress Oxide Black Soot for the greeting. It's your birthday, let's party. And I decided at this point that it was time to use the confetti to finish this up. I put the lacquer balloons on this tag, and it looked kind of plain. And I thought that maybe this would jazz it up. I'm using Gina K Connect glue with this confetti because the material that the confetti is made of is rather translucent, and the Connect glue, the Gina K Connect glue, dries clear, so you won't be able to see it behind this. All right, I have placed the balloons where I want them, and I think the lacquer turned out really well. I only ruined a couple by not letting it dry completely. So, important safety tip. As I finish up this gift tag, I did check the Hero Arts website, and this kit is still available. So if you're interested, then go over to heroarts.com, and this is a big tag for a big gift. Okay, I didn't want to put this in, but I thought, well, I need to show you the mistakes before you make them. This is my epic fail disaster mistake central. I'm going to make an anniversary card. I'm using a 5x7 card base and a card front that's cut slightly smaller. I'll be using the sentiments, let's party and celebrate. I'll also be using some gold embossing powder and some Krylon spray on, and this is gold. And then some just inexpensive gold acrylic paint, along with a paintbrush and an acrylic block. Okay, let's get started. My first error, as you'll see here, is that I grabbed the card base instead of the card front. And I don't like to do things on the card itself just because of the errors I make. I went ahead and cut off the candles on the cake because a lot of times you don't see in an anniversary celebration candles on a cake. And I traced around the cake because I didn't want the verbiage to be covered up, and did another snip there. And I drew this very lightly so we could erase it later on. And you'll see here very soon that I spray painted the cake gold. Wanted this to be a golden anniversary. And I keep my spray paints out in the garage. And it was cold, and I went ahead and tried to spray, and it came out like silly string. So another important tip, bring it up to room temperature and then start spraying. So there we go. And it looked very nice. No real problem there. All right, let's get the stamping done. And I did this all at once with VersaMark. VersaMark doesn't dry very fast, and if you are efficient in your time use, you can stamp everything you need to and then emboss it. After I finished my stamping and embossing of the card, I thought it looked kind of plain on the top. So I searched through my collection and found this. It's Simon Says stamp. I believe it's envelope greetings, and these envelopes really are cute. And there's a bunch of other ones that you can put on your project. I think these were meant just for envelopes, but I cheated and used them the actual card. So I went ahead and got that embossed, or stamped and embossed. And what I do next is, it was kind of the crowning disaster of this card. I put a little bit of, well, it wasn't a little bit, it was a little bit more than I needed of the acrylic paint, and I added some water to it. And all I wanted to do was put little drops of gold on the card, and I ended up just making a bigger mess. And then I tried to clean it up, and after I cleaned it up, it really looked like a dog with wet, muddy paws had walked across the card. So at this point, it was kind of a lost cause, but I wanted you guys to see it because, you know, things happen. And after I got through, I talked to my husband and I said, "Isn't this card terrible?" And he, "Well, can I have it?" And I said, "Well, no." And he said, "But there's a guy at work who's having an anniversary and everybody's..." And I said, "Honey, this card is so bad." And he reminded me that he worked with a bunch of mechanical engineers, that they would appreciate just about everything. So I went ahead and gave it to him, and I hope the happy couple with the 50th wedding anniversary will be pleased with this card. All right, so that's the card. Let's see, I haven't put the stickles in. Yeah, we had two. I looked at my stickles collection. One was more Christmassy than the other, and I wanted to put something in the hearts at the top, and so I thought that the stickles would work. As I put the finishing touches on this disaster, I want to thank everybody for spending time with me, and I know your time is precious, and I appreciate your support. And if you would, subscribe to my channel, and I will have all the information you need in the video description. And I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and I'll be back next Wednesday with a Washi Tape Wednesday. And until then, have a wonderful weekend.